but you're still reading manga till today. What mangas within the last few years that have been released are you currently reading?
So right now, I'm eagerly awaiting for Chainsaw Man Part Two. I'm keeping up with My Hero, obviously Attack on Titan. I just started Jujutsu Kaisen. But like Monster Kaiju number 8 is something that like I've absolutely fallen in love with. That and Chainsaw Man are the stuff that get me most excited. They're not super popular right now, but I think they're both going to get huge when they get animes.
Can we talk about Chainsaw Man for a bit?
Yeah, of course.
So I 100% agree with you. Chainsaw Man is going to be a very, very popular series, and the same way a lot of people are into Jujutsu Kaisen, I think they're going to love Chainsaw Man even more. But it's such an interesting series. Everything about it, from its commentary about like what's happening today, to the setting, to the era that it takes place in, to even like the art. Like, I like so much about Chainsaw Man, and I find it so unique as a shonen, because it takes so many different elements from other comics that I've read, and it makes it transcend the shonen label that it has. I also can't wait for part 2 because it's just that compelling of a story, and I felt so engaged with all of the characters. What did you like about it?
So what I really liked most about it was when you go back and reread it, it's all like there's only like 90 some chapters. Like it goes very, very quick. But the author always takes time to like have a small breather, like in chapters, and just show the little moments where the characters are interacting with each other that, like, even though you are with them sort of for such a brief amount of time, it feels like a series like double the length. You meet, a lot of the especially a lot of the early characters, and some of them go away, some of them not, but you feels like them for a lot longer than you do. And it's just the care that the author puts into, these little tiny interactions, these small moments, where they are really like acting like people, and especially like Denji isn't a dumb dude. Like, he's uneducated, but he's not dumb, and I think that's attracted to me because, especially going from the previous era of like Battle Shonen, everything was inspired by the Dragon Ball, like loves meat, dumb, loves to fight. And you're seeing like Denji and a lot of these modern shonen protagonists that are smart people, like Tanjiro from Demon Slayer, intelligent guy, Deku, smart dude, and it's everything's kind of moving towards like a more cerebral approach to these series, not treating like the readers like they're dumb.
Yeah, you're right. That's also one of the reasons why I feel like I'm having another wave of appreciation for manga and anime, is because, and perhaps it has to do with the fact that it's more mainstream now, but you have series and you have characters where the story is, like, as I said before, it's much more compelling. You can get more complex with your character. It just doesn't have to be a recycled Goku over and over and over again. Like the last dumb character that I appreciated was from Naruto, and now it's like you want a character that is like they have something holding them back, but they're not stupid. They care more than just about eating. They have real goals, and as the series progresses, they want to accomplish their goals. And another thing that I like about modern series is that they're not as long as some of the series that we came up on. So, like, for example, part 1 of Chainsaw Man it's only part 1, but I feel like I learned so much about this character. And when I go back to like an older series, like let's say the original Dragon Ball manga, I felt like we never got to know Goku to a level that justified it being that long. Even with Naruto or Bleach, like Ichigo was such an underdeveloped character. Naruto is fun, and I think the point of that series is to show the ensemble cast, but at the same time you can have an ensemble cast but then have a main character that you can resonate with, or you can develop their personality so you actually care about them when they're engaging in battle, or you care about the side characters when they're put in like a perilous situation. Even like with Tokyo Ghoul, Tokyo Ghoul had its flaws, but I felt like at that era of manga, like 2011, 2012, when you just started to see that peak of popularity, you started seeing authors putting pen to paper and creating better, more interesting characters.
Exactly. You know, one thing I've been kind of enamored with over the past year is kind of seeing how especially in Shonen Jump, you know, the kind of the lineage of, you know, where these authors are like take their inspiration from, and kind of fixing what I view as flaws of the previous generation. Like when Naruto was ending, Horikoshi, the author of My Hero, wrote, he's like, Naruto was my favorite manga, you know. And then in a recent interview with the author of Jujutsu Kaisen, he talked about being really inspired by Togashi's Yu Hakusho, Hunter x Hunter, as well as Bleach. Like the beginning of Jujutsu Kaisen is basically a gender swapped chapter 1 of Bleach, you know. And they even did just a cross promotion the other day, if you saw like on Reddit, you know, r/manga. And you see like, you know, how like underdeveloped the cast was in Naruto, and how much like Horikoshi is really put into like filling out like all of class 1A. You know who they are, at least on a more deeper level than just like one fight. You know, everybody's had a chance to shine so far, you know, and Yuji for Jujutsu Kaisen, like he's actually got like a goal. You know, he's got, you know, he's kind of more Ichigo reactionary character, but he actually has a goal and something he's working towards to like push the plot forward. Where I think Bleach kind of stumbled a lot because Ichigo was very like, you know, stuff happened around him instead of him like going out and saying, okay, I'm going to do this. And it kind of felt like you're just along for the ride instead of the character actually doing something.
Yep, I fully agree with you. Ichigo was way too bland of a main character, and I felt like even like the characters around him that were more interesting at the time, Rukia, even like Orihime, I liked Chad. I didn't expect him to be like a main character, but you had like developing backstories for them, and then like you have Renji coming in, you have like the ice captain, I think his name was Hyuga or something. Like you had all these characters coming in and they were interesting, and there was a lot of character like design put into them to make them popular, and then Kubo just couldn't write them well. And maybe he lost interest in the series partway through. I think that's pretty obvious. And like maybe he was never as strong of a writer as we thought. But I look at Bleach as a cautionary tale, and I think many authors do as well, because as much as I love it, it's the friend who had so much potential, and they were surrounded by so many others that had potential, but they couldn't live up to that, even though they were surrounded by those that should have pushed them. But Bleach just never did that. I really hope the newer Bleach series, like the spin-off and the anime, kind of bring justice to what happened towards the end, because the last like 3-4 years of Bleach was insufferable for me.
Oh, yeah. And one thing, I don't know if you know this, but there was an interview with Kubo where he talked about wanting to give up like towards the midway point of Thousand Year Blood War. And then it kind of came out a little bit afterwards. I think he torn his labrum or something. And he submitted the final chapter and then immediately went into surgery. So like, you know, and just, I can't imagine what it must be like, especially like him and to like Togashi has the back problems to like try and draw these series on a weekly basis. You know, so it kind of like it kind of explains what happened, but it doesn't kind of excuse like kind of all the crap at the end.
Yeah, that like I as much as I feel bad for manga authors, because we know, like we hear about all their stories, we hear about how hard it is for them with their medical issues and being hunched over, drawing, rewriting. Sometimes they don't have as many assistants as they need, or they don't want to work with so many assistants. Like even with the author of Nana, I really like Nana. I don't think that series is ever going to be completed. I love Hunter. I don't know if Hunter's ever going to see a real ending. And you want Hunter to continue, but like, I'm being optimistic. But now I feel like I'm also being delusional, as with many of the fans. You have to consider the health of the author, but also consider the fact that why would the author put themselves through something that they physically and maybe emotionally just aren't 100% committed to anymore?
Yeah, you know, and you know, especially someone like Togashi, who's got like, you know, he's made his money, you know, you know, as much as you hate to see like such a great author like kind of go and not complete the story he started, like I don't blame him if like you're struggling, you've got the money to not do it. Like, you know, I wish you would just have like wrapped it up at the end of the you know, the end of where the anime ended off, instead of introducing this whole new world to then say nah.
Yeah, I think he was feeling good about himself. He's like, yeah, okay, I can do this election thing. I can start developing my older characters. I can make Kurapika into like this character, and he's very ambitious, and I think he's extremely capable. But like, it's the same thing with Yu Yu Hakusho. I think Togashi is a very strong writer. I think he thinks he's more capable than what he can actually produce. And like I say this as a fan of his. I grew up on Yu Yu Hakusho from like the 90s, and like I really love all of these characters and these series, but I don't see the commitment there. I don't see realistically how Hunter can have a strong ending at this point.